Love him or hate him, Lewis Hamilton is undeniably up there with the likes of Ayrton Senna and Michael Schumacher as one of the best drivers that ever came into the sport. And while he isn't dominating over his competitors anymore, the 7-time world champion is still consistently battling towards the front. And now that he has only 1 year left in his contract with Mercedes, what are the chances that he follows in Fernando Alonso's footsteps and continues to compete in his 40s? Well, let's talk about it then. But before we do, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on our latest uploads. Now that's out of the way, let's get started. After the 2021 season, Lewis Hamilton fans were holding their breath as the 7-time world champion took his sweet time in signing an extension with Mercedes. And as we wind down the 2022 season, many fans of the sport are wondering if Lewis will decide to walk away by the end of next season, especially now that Mercedes isn't the top dog that they once were. Throughout this season, Hamilton has given hints that he is leaning towards extending and saying that he has got plenty of fuel in the tank. He would also add that the recent struggles that the team is facing is giving him more of a reason to stay compared to if he were just winning races by wide margins like the 2020 season. And now Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff has chimed in regarding Lewis's situation in a recent interview with David Coulthard, where he would say, "The advantage is we speak a lot together," Wolff said. "Just last week we sat down and he says, 'Look, I have another 5 years in me. How do you see that?' He's the shining star on and off the track. I think we would lose the greatest personality that Formula One ever had. Over time, we've just grown together," Wolff added. "We are totally transparent with each other. Lewis will be the first one to say, 'I can't do this anymore, because I feel I haven't got the reactions anymore or I've just lost fun doing it. And there is another generation growing up that is just very strong. So I have no doubt that whatever we agree on a contract extension, which is going to happen, that we both are always going to discuss very openly what does the future hold." Toto would also add that he doesn't doubt that Lewis will still remain as competitive as he is now when he does officially choose to continue competing in F1. "I don't know if 40 is that age where you say that it is not adequate anymore for a racing driver," Wolff added. "If you look at where Fernando is with 41 years, he's still very much there. Now, is he the same Fernando that he was at 25? I don't know, but he's still very competitive still. You look at Tom Brady, who is somebody I really admire for having the discipline in how he manages his life and his sport. He's 43 or 44, and he's on the pitch. So Lewis, with the way he leads his life, with the full, ultra-narrow focus on his Formula One racing, all the others are just hobbies, I think he can take it quite far. But as much as Toto and Lewis believe that the glory days of their partnership aren't over, many fans and pundits would argue that the two are on a steep decline with how this season has been going. In his illustrious 15-year career, Lewis has only had to apologize to his team a handful of times, but this season has been a complete opposite, as it seems as though the 7-time world champion is apologizing to his team with each race weekend that comes. This season has been a big adjustment for Lewis, as he's had to get used to fighting his way back up the pack, a complete opposite from the previous year, where it seemed as though he took pole position in every race. And because of that, his regrets have been more regular this season, starting at the Austrian Grand Prix where he crashed out in the sprint qualifying, and then followed up by back-to-back apologies in Spa, where he had to retire from the race after he crashed into Alpine's Fernando Alonso, and at Zandvoort, where the 7-time world champion rained expletives on the team radio after he felt the team had ruined his chances of winning his first races this season. And now, recently, Lewis has yet again had to apologize to his team after crashing onto the barrier while in hot pursuit of Ferrari's Carlos Sainz for a podium finish. Lewis would describe the mistake as, "It all went out the window when I locked up, so my apologies to the team, but we live and learn, and I'll recover." And now, with only a handful of races left in the season and a P2 finish in the Constructors' Championship as the best possible result for the team, Mercedes are mainly competing now to save their pride and to figure out how they can make a better car for next season. But one may argue that Lewis's struggles are brought about by a faulty car design, that he has to muscle to podium finishes. But I guess only time will tell if A, Mercedes will be able to design a better car for next season, and B, can Lewis still compete, given the right car? Moving on to his teammate George Russell. The 24-year-old driver also had a weekend to forget at Singapore. The British driver's struggles started during FP2, where George would say that he had brake issues with his W13, which then carried on all the way through the qualifying sessions where he would finish P11. The team would then decide to take a power unit penalty for Sunday's race, which meant that George would have to start from the pit lane. And as the race progressed, things would only get worse for George as he would finish the race plumb last. After the race, George would call upon the F1 chiefs to make changes to some circuits such as Singapore to help make races more entertaining in the future. You have to be incredibly audacious in these conditions, and without DRS, on a circuit like this, these F1 cars are nigh on impossible to overtake, he said. I feel like F1 has something to learn about these kinds of circuits. Here and Barcelona, the only overtaking opportunities, the corners, are too quick. Here you are braking just after the 100-meter board into that 90-degree left-hander. There is enough space there to make it a tighter corner to make for better racing and better overtaking. George also received criticisms for his audacious decision to switch way earlier than the rest of the field. The 24-year-old would defend his decision in his post-race interview, where he would say, "We were in no man's land, to be honest, but potentially it was, because at the restart we were flying, overtook 2 or 3 people on one lap after the safety car. Obviously, I had the tangle with Mick. I don't know what happened there. I felt like I left him plenty of space. We would have probably finished in the points because we were flying. Obviously got the fastest lap at the end by almost 2 seconds. Pleased the issues from yesterday in FP1 have been resolved, and I guess a bit of confidence restored that I haven't lost it and I didn't qualify 3 seconds off the pace due to a lack of talent or whatever. But such a shame. We had a car to win this week." Now, throughout the season, Mercedes has had at least either George or Lewis finishing in the top 5, which is why George still believes that Mercedes is making good progress for next season, excluding this past weekend, obviously. "We are making loads of progress as a team that I'm proud about," said Russell. "We are here to win races. Points are always great. We've had a very good run of results, and this is probably the first weekend as a team, bar Silverstone, that we slipped up, myself included." And there you have it, guys. So do you still want to see Lewis racing in F1? Will he still be competitive if he does stay? And what are the chances of Mercedes being a contender again next season? Let us know in the comments section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.